Hello and welcome to STEP. My name's Jordan, and in this session, we'll be going through Surya Namaskar B, or Sun Salutation Sequence B. The Sun Salutation sequences are a common theme in a lot of yoga classes. They were really formalized when yoga was brought to the West and are a bit of an athletic as well as a contemplative practice. There's 3 different forms, A, B, and C, all of them following a slightly different sequence. So in today's video, we're going to break down the component parts of the sequence B. We'll go through it, incorporating our breath into the movement, and then work through a full sequence smoothly. So for starting out, we're going to be at the top of the mat in mountain pose. I know you've probably been in mountain pose before, but just to review, you want your feet either hip width apart or right together for this sequence. Either one, whichever is comfortable, and you want your weight distributed comfortably and evenly on your feet. So you don't want all of your weight in your heels or the balls of your feet. Try to stand with your weight well distributed. Want to stand up straight, have our shoulders relaxed away from the ears, and feel like there's a little bit of a lift in the front of the body and grounding through the back of the body. From our mountain pose, we move into chair pose. So I know chair is the bane of many yogis' existences. You lower into a bit of a half squat. Your hands can be in a number of positions. Traditionally for this sequence, we'll have them out in front of us. Think like you're holding a giant soccer ball or beach ball out in front of you. Again, you don't want your shoulders crunching up towards your ears in this posture. You want to try to keep that upper body as relaxed as you can, even though your quads are working as hard as they can. We won't spend too long here before we move into our forward fold. In this first forward fold, it's just your traditional let your head hang down, back rounds a little bit, forward fold. If your knees need to bend, to give you a little bit more room, that's great. After our forward fold, we're going to move into an extended forward fold. The emphasis here is on having your back as straight as you can, with your shoulders moving again away from your ears. Your hands are going to go wherever they are able to based on how much space you have in the hamstrings and back of the legs. So for some folks, they can have their hands on the ground and their back stays completely straight. I myself can't do that. So you may find that it's more comfortable to have your hands on your shins or up on your thighs. The most important thing, again, is that you have that straight line through your back, through your neck, and top of your head. Now, from our extended forward fold, our next posture is going to be a warrior 1. So unlike our Surya Namaskar A, we're not just jumping back into a plank or chaturanga straight ahead. We're moving through this other little sequence. So for warrior 1, your front leg, your right leg, is going to stay forward and bent. You want your knee over your ankle here. Your back leg will be straight. Now your foot will probably end up a little bit angled towards the front left corner of your mat. And it can be helpful to spread your legs a little bit here so you're not on railroad tracks. That can make balancing a little tricky. Well, you do want to be on railroad tracks. You don't want to be on the same track. So once we get into this position, you'll want to see if you can tilt your hips a little bit to the forward. They do not need to be square to the front of the mat, though. That's going to be really challenging to get into for most of us. So just be moving them towards the front of your mat. Front leg bent, back leg straight, foot to the top left corner of your mat at a bit of an angle. Now from here, you don't want to be letting your tummy spill out. You want to tuck your tail a little bit so we can keep a bit of straightness and engagement in the core here. We're facing to the front of the mat, hands come up. Again, we don't want the shoulders to be creeping up towards our ears. We want to keep them down and relaxed. And again, in all of these sun salutations, we're not holding these poses for long periods of time. So it's important that we feel confident moving in and out of them and have the foundation down. So once we're comfortable here in our warrior, we're going to be moving back down. And this is where we either step back into a plank or a chaturanga, whichever is more comfortable for you. We don't spend much time in either plank or chaturanga before we head up into a downward or an upward facing dog. Again, in an upward facing dog, our hands are about shoulder width apart, fingers are spread, We're on the tops of the feet, and our pelvis is not touching the ground, neither are our knees. And it's a gentle back bend with your nose up to the sky if that's comfortable for you. If upward facing dog is not in your body, you can always lower all the way to the ground and come into a cobra pose. Your hands are near your rib cage. You want your elbows staying close to the body. And we just gently push up as comfortably as you are able. You don't want to crank your neck all the way up if you're in cobra. So keep your gaze just out in front of your nose. Whether you're an upward dog or cobra, we're going to transition into a downward dog next. Again, another very familiar pose for those who have been practicing yoga. But just to review again, we want your hands about shoulder width apart, weight distributed, mostly into the knuckles as much as you're able to keep some of that pressure out of the wrists. Your tailbone is lifting up to the sky, and your heels are reaching towards the ground. They may or may not reach the mat. If you need to bend your knees to get that tailbone tilted, you can always bend your knees as much as you need. Now from our downward dog, we'll be going back into warrior on the other side. So we're going to bring our left foot forward this time. You may need to bring that back foot forward a little bit to get it into the right position for you to comfortably enter warrior one. But it's going to be the same concept on this side. So that right foot is now your back foot. It's pointing towards that front right corner of the mat. Left foot in front with that knee bent. We're tilting our pelvis forward as much as it's comfortably able to go. And then hands up alongside your ears. Make sure you're relaxing those shoulders. From our warrior one, we come back to the floor and down into that plank or chaturanga. Returning to the upward facing dog and downward dog. So from here, we're going to be moving up into a forward fold. You're able to either jump, step, or hop from here, whichever one is most comfortable for you today. If you're jumping forward, again, you want to load a little energy, get a little springiness in those legs, and then hop towards your hands. Or if you're looking to step forward, you'll just be bringing one foot and then the other, as many steps as it takes to get them to the front of the mat. We're immediately going to come into an extended forward fold. Again, we want to keep our back as straight as possible, keep our neck in line with the rest of the spine, like one long energy line, and hands go wherever is most comfortable for them to be in this position. We relax into our full forward fold here. We'll come into one more chair pose briefly. Again, make sure that you can see your toes in this position. You don't want to be out with your knees over your toes. And then we'll rise back up, let those legs relax, and come into our mountain pose. Now that we've broken down each of those postures individually, let's bring the breath into it. So we'll take a few breaths just to relax and sink back up in our mountain pose here. And on the first inhale of our sequence, it's going to bring us to the chair pose. So inhale, we sink into chair pose. Exhale will drop us down into that forward fold. Inhale brings us up into our halfway lift. And an exhale brings us down to our chaturanga or plank, whether we're hopping, stepping, or jumping. Inhale will take us to an upward facing dog. And an exhale into our down dog. The next inhale is going to bring one foot forward and lift us up into warrior one. This is a little bit of a quick one here, so if you feel like you need to take an extra cycle of breath, please go for it. And exhale is going to bring us all the way back down into our chaturanga for the next inhale up to upward dog. Exhale takes us to downward dog. And we're going to repeat that quick cycle again. So an inhale into warrior one. And an exhale back down to chaturanga. Inhale takes us to to upward facing dog. And exhale into downward dog. At the bottom of that exhale, we're going to hop, step, or jump to the front of the mat, with our inhale bringing us to an extended forward fold. Exhale, down into forward fold. Inhale to one more chair pose, and an exhale to our mountain pose. So you can probably see from that experience that you can easily get out of breath going through this sequence. It moves fast, and it can require some athleticism, especially if you're doing a lot of jump backs and chaturangas. So make sure that you're modifying this as needed and taking breaks. This is a great way to get your heart rate up, especially at the beginning of a yoga class or sequence, to get you warmed up for more stretchier poses. So take a moment to grab your breath, and then we're going to move into going through this whole sequence as one flow. So we'll come to the front of the mat. Get comfortable, take a few deep breaths together. On your next inhale, we'll come into chair pose. Exhale, down into forward fold. Extended forward fold. And then exhale to plank or chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And back to downward dog. Inhale, right foot forward into warrior one. Exhale back down to chaturanga. Inhale. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left foot forward. Up to warrior one. Exhale down, back to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bottom of your exhale, hop, step, or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, extended forward fold. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, mountain pose. Take a few deep breaths. And congratulations, you worked your way through Surya Namaskar B. You've increased your repertoire of yoga sequences, and hopefully this will help you be more comfortable in your studio and home practice and give you something great to use as a warm-up and strengthening exercise for all of your athletic endeavors. Thanks for joining me here on STEP. See you next time.